My name is Ryan Robison. I'm an investigator with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. I hold the rank of sergeant. Up there on the board, you can see some of my credentials. The ones I really care about are down at the bottom right now. I've got a special deputization with the FBI at their Safe Trails Task Force, and the one I'm really proud of right now is the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation's ICAC Task Force. So if anybody doesn't know what that is, the ICAC Task Force is the Internet Crimes Against Children. The cyber tips come in from all of internet service providers to NCMEC, which is the National Center for Exploited and Missing Children. They disseminate those cyber tips throughout the task force, throughout the United States, and then they get disseminated down to us to work. Good. I do want to warn you, before we move on, I am going to talk about some sensitive subjects. Just if you feel the need to get up and walk away, by all means, go ahead. So who has a cell phone with them? Actually, better question is, who doesn't have a cell phone? I know my son doesn't. Cole, anybody else doesn't? Dawson, go ahead and pull those out for me. Go to your settings and check your screen time. That's not fair. I know some of us use our phones for work, so I'll give you a little bit of leeway there. Brian, how much you got? You weren't even listening. Sit up and listen. How much? 4 minutes? Average daily, how much? You don't know? Just restarted today. It's Sunday. 19 minutes. It's Sunday because the screen time restarts Sunday. Do me a favor. Next Saturday night, check and see how much average you guys have. I checked mine last night. It's about 4 hours a day. I do use some of mine for work. A lot of times I'm just sitting there scrolling through Facebook. On average, teenagers use their phones up to 9 hours a day. That's a lot. A lot of them are on social media. So you can see the population of the world right there is 7.75 billion. About 49% of those are on social media in the world. The United States population, about 330 million. 70% are on social media. We're quite a bit above the world on social media. And the breakdown of the ages are there below it. So I walked around Sunday school this morning and before church, and I was looking to see who all was on their cell phones. At one point in time, the teenagers who all right sitting here, almost all of them were on their phone at one time. I took a picture of it. I meant to send it to Jamie. It was kind of funny. They're all hit. Probably with adults as well. So 90% of teenagers between 13 and 17 are on social media. 73% have reported at least one active social media profile. 51% report visiting a social media site at least daily. You guys have social media? Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram. We'll get into all those here. 2/3 of teens have their own mobile device with the internet capability. I know at least all those in that row probably do. So these are the most popular social media sites out there. There are hundreds of social media websites. I couldn't name them all. Does anybody know what Yubo is? No? It is a social media dating platform, and it's geared towards 13-year-olds. Why does a 13-year-old need to be on a dating app? They don't. Yubo. These are the messaging apps that are most popular. Most of these are end-to-end encrypted. We'll get to that here in a minute. Telegram, Signal, Snapchat, WhatsApp. Anybody know of any others? Oh, I'm sorry. There's lots of them. Yeah. So we're going to get into, like I said, we're going to get into some hard subjects. So what is sexting? Sexting is sending your sexually explicit material, your pictures, your videos, to another person, and you don't have any control over it since then. It includes photos and videos contain nudity or other sexual explicit content. It's often done as a joke or a way to get attention. It's flirting. In my job, I have talked to a lot of teenagers, and they just don't think it's a big deal to send those nudity pictures out. I just don't understand. They just don't. It's often believed that these are going to be kept private. The images are shared and spread by peers. Once the images are out there, they can't be controlled. And when you take a picture of yourself and you're underage, you're actually generating your own self-pornography. We call it child sexual abuse material, and it is a felony. There is no turning back. Once that picture is out there, you don't have any control over it. So I put that picture up there, and it's kind of a red pill, blue pill moment. Take the red pill, you go back to your normal life. Take the blue pill, you send it out, and you'll never get it back. This is a little video that we're going to watch here for a minute.
What is sextortion?
What is sextortion?
What is sextortion?
Sextortion? Extortion related to sex-related crimes?
Sex for, not for money.
To favors for sex, which makes me think is the new word for sexual harassment.
Okay, so the question is, what is sextortion? I've never heard of that word before.
What is sextortion? Somebody kind of blackmailing somebody for sexual favors.
Sextortion to me would be someone who's forced against their will to perform sexual acts, or like blackmailing them for sexual favors.
Sextortion is a serious crime that occurs when someone threatens to distribute your private and sensitive material if you don't provide them images of a sexual nature, sexual favors, or money. The perpetrator may also threaten to harm your friends or relatives by using information they have obtained from your electronic devices unless you comply with their demands. I am a special agent with the FBI, and I investigate violent crimes against children. I want you to know that sextortion can have devastating effects on young victims from all walks of life, and it is easy to become a victim. Online perpetrators might gain your trust by pretending to be someone they are not. They lurk in chat rooms and record young people who post or live stream sexually explicit images and videos of themselves, or they may hack into your electronic devices using malware to gain access to your files and control your web camera and microphone without you knowing it. Here are some things you can do to avoid becoming a victim. Never send compromising images of yourself to anyone, no matter who they are or who they say they are. Do not open attachments from people you do not know. Turn off your electronic devices and web cameras when you're not using them. If you are receiving sextortion threats, you are not alone. It is likely the perpetrator is an adult pretending to be a teenager, and you are just one of the many victims being targeted by the same person. Do not be afraid to talk to an adult and to call the FBI. Help us find these criminals and stop them from damaging young lives. If you believe you're a victim of sextortion or know someone else who is, call your local FBI office or toll free at 1-800-CALL-FBI.
So I get an email weekly from NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and they give me an update on how many cases come through their facility. Now this is a number here for the first week of January of 2023. Look at that top number where it says child pornography. It's 4,234,495. That's how many tips came in the first week of January this year. About 75% of those is self-generated material from children. This is material that they've sent out to friends, and the internet service providers report it to NCMEC. There's some other numbers there. Since the program's date, 148,470,000. That's a lot. That's just child pornography. They also do other cases as well, sexual exploitation, that type of deal. So what are the apps that we're worried about as law enforcement? All of them, every last one of them. That's the exact same slide I put up earlier. If it has internet capability, you likely could get extorted or visit sites that you don't need to as children. So I was talking about end-to-end encryption earlier. What that means is the internet service provider that, say Signal here, they don't keep the content of your text. All they will tell me is if there was a text message sent. So the only place that is kept is on the phone. So if somebody sends a picture to another picture through Signal, the only place it's kept is on the phone. It's not kept on the server of Signal. So this is Dylan Davis. He, in 2020, he came from California to his best friend's house here in Oklahoma. He was on his way to Florida. We have suspicions that he was probably running drugs. Dylan was staying at his best friend's house. Well, his best friend had a 12-year-old daughter. And they became friendly. They started chatting, talking on text messages, regular text messages. Well, Dylan here said, hey, let's switch over to Signal. It'll be better for us. Nobody can see us. So they switch over to Signal. And he starts grooming her he wants to have sex with her. She's 12 years old. He is, he was born in 91, so he was well in his 20s by that time. There was one night he was staying at the house, and her mother heard something coming from her room. She opened the door and found Dylan standing over top of his daughter, or over top of her daughter, in a foreplay manner, choking her. She described that she had a kink for foreplay or choking. How does a 12-year-old even know what that means? He was just about to rape her. Well, he is now a sex offender. He was convicted, and he has to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. And then encryption comes through Snapchat as well. Many people know that Snapchat doesn't keep the messages on their server unless you save it on your phone. There's a category in Snapchat called My Eyes Only. This is a folder that is password protected, and you can keep your photos you don't want anybody else to see in there. So Cody Husky here met a girl who was 12 years old. He lived in Muskogee. She lived over here in Park Hill. They met through Snapchat, and he befriended her. She gave him her address. He drove to her address, where he proceeded to rape her. This past Thursday, he was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. That's me taking him to jail on Thursday. Also, there are vault apps that people can download, such as the calculator. It looks like a calculator. You put in a code, and it opens up, and that's where you can keep your hidden messages, hidden photos. These are how teenagers are hiding things nowadays. Teenagers are also getting paid. I recently worked a case where a teenager was getting paid through Cash App. She was sending her naked photos through Snapchat. She had earned up to $400 in about 3 months. So if you end up looking on your kid's phone and they have Cash App and you don't know about it, you might want to look into that. So what can parents do about it? Well, for one, we can communicate with our children, be available to them, ensure that beyond any doubt that your child knows that they can share anything with you and won't overreact. They must know that you're the safe place. So if they sent pictures out and they feel like they need that they're being extorted or something like that, they need to know that you can be trusted with that type of deal. Also be nosy. Look through their phones. Know their passwords. Make sure your children know who isn't appropriate to connect with online. There are some monitoring and managing apps that parents can put on their kids' phones. These are some that the top brands that I found: Bark, Boomerang, iPact. They're all apps that you can put on your phone and their phone, and it will monitor, send you messages about if there's any type of activity that they seem is dangerous. They'll let you know. So there are also some resources that you can find. This woman here on YouTube, if you look up Family Tech, she has hundreds of videos on her website about how to protect your children. Protect Young Eyes, it's an app that you can download, and it has little lessons that you can read to learn about pretty much anything that you want to about phones. And you can also get on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's website. This is why I do this. Mark 9:35-37 says, "And he sat down and called the 12. And he said to them, if anyone would be first, he must be last, and all the servants, and the servant of all. And he took a child and put him in the midst of them. And taking him in his arms, he said to them, whoever receives such one child in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but him who sent me." Jesus said that to his disciples because they were arguing about who was the best of them. I feel children are God's gift to us. And if we don't protect them, they're not going to be able to protect themselves. I'm willing and open to answer any questions. If you guys have any concerns, you can come to me.